Ah, there she is. In here is the new Garmin R50 that everyone has been talking about. Ooh, and they weren't kidding either. It certainly isn't small. And it goes without saying that there is a lot of hype around this new launch monitor. In fact, I've heard it referred to as things like greatest launch monitor ever. I've heard it been called revolutionary. And although those make very catchy and attention-grabbing YouTube titles, there is a bit of truth to it. But with that being said, there's also a few things about this launch monitor that I think are just not being talked about enough. And they're definitely things that you are going to want to be aware of before you drop $5,000 on this. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. Let's first talk about what the R50 is. Maybe you haven't seen it before, so I wanna dive into a little bit about how it works and exactly what it is. I also wanna talk about some of those things that do make it truly revolutionary. Some things on the R50 that we have never seen before, and we've reviewed a lot of different launch monitors here on the channel. But of course, it can't be all roses. And there's a bunch of things about the R50 that concern me. And I really wanna make sure that you guys are aware of them if you're thinking about buying this, because I just don't think enough people are talking about them. So we'll talk about the pros, we'll talk about the cons, and then we'll even throw a little accuracy test in there as well. Oh, and before I dig into this review, I think it's important to mention that I've got no skin in the game here. This is not a sponsored review. Unfortunately, I don't even get to keep that R50 as much as I would love to, and it doesn't belong to us. It actually belongs to our friends over at playbetter.com. They're huge supporters of the channel, and they lent us this for just a few days so that we can give our honest feedback on it and do a full review. And getting back to how this works, the R50 is what's called an optical launch monitor, which means it uses high-speed cameras to measure both the ball and club characteristics. I'm gonna show you some of those numbers here in just a second. But what's really cool about this is that it's a 3-camera system. And what that kind of reminds me of is a unit that we've been using for a long time, which is the Foresight GC3. And we've also tested some other units that use 2 cameras, like the GolfJoy GDS is another one we've tested here on the channel. And I definitely think the inclusion of a 3rd camera not only does help with the overall accuracy, but it definitely indicates that this is a higher end launch monitor. The more cameras you have, obviously, the more it can see, the more it can measure, and the more accurate it's gonna be. But with that said, there are 2 things about the R50 that are kind of dead giveaways that this is something very different. And again, that word revolutionary has been thrown around, or game changer. And there's 2 things on this device that immediately point to that. The first thing is this huge, very responsive, very easy to use, and high definition touchscreen display. And why I think that this is so amazing and such a game changer for so many people is because if you're able to use and navigate an iPad, then you can use this. And the other dead giveaway that shows that the Garmin R50 is something so new and different is something I've never seen on a launch monitor before in all of the launch monitors we've reviewed here on the channel. And if you flip it around the back, you'll see a little hidden door here. And inside there is an HDMI out. And the reason why that's so revolutionary is because if you are using this to create some sort of home golf simulator, all you need to do now is plug a projector directly into that HDMI and you're going to have projection. There is no need for a PC or an iPad or a mobile device. All of that processing is done right inside of the R50, so it is definitely one less step. But as game-changing as that is, unfortunately, we're not yet able to fully cut the cord and get rid of the PC or the mobile devices, because there are some aspects of this that still require them. Like I said, those are the things that I just don't think enough people are talking about. We're gonna dig into that in just a second. But first, I wanna take you through some of the really cool gameplay and other modes that you can see here on the screen. All right, so going through these, let's first start with practice, because this is where you're going to get your launch monitor numbers. And one thing that I will say that I really like about this is that once you purchase the R50, all of both your ball and club data, you get all of that information at no additional cost. And I know how sensitive a lot of you are, rightfully so, to subscription fees. However, you're not gonna be able to completely get away with no subscription. I'll show you in a minute. There are features in here that do require a subscription. But if you're just after ball and club data, good news is you get that without any additional fee. So looking here, you've got a driving range. You've also got a couple of different options for target ranges, which are really cool. As you can see, as I'm thumbing through this, it's super easy and responsive, and the graphics are pretty darn good on this huge screen. So if we select driving range, the next thing that you're gonna see pop up is some options for elevation, even relative humidity. So what I think that this does is it really puts it in that higher category and class of launch monitor for people who are looking for that really dialed in details and using this both indoor and outdoor. There's a lot of great stuff in here, including temperature, etc., that you're able to put in here. But let's just hit start session. And the next thing that it's going to do is quickly ask me what club I'm hitting. I'll select an 8-iron. And here's where we see something really cool, alignment. It uses those cameras to let you know the ball is in the right position. So it'll quickly give you an indication that you're ready to hit, and then you see all of your data. Now, one thing I think is gonna be music to a lot of people's ears is that the R50 does not require you to use any special or specially marked golf ball. You can use the ball of your choice. You could take it to the range and use range balls. So I can happily use my Titleist Pro Vs with this, and you're gonna get accurate numbers. And that's thanks in part to the 3 cameras that are in there, just like the Foresight GC3. However, when it comes to clubs, you will have to mark them with these reflective stickers that they provide if you want club data. So they're not huge or obtrusive, and they're pretty easy to put on your clubs, but just keep in mind, if you want that club data, you will need to be placing these stickers on your clubs. All right, so now let's talk about the next play mode that I think is going to be particularly exciting for anyone who's going to be using this to build out a home simulator, and that is play. So if you click on this, what you'll see is that there's 2 options. One is an online tournament. The other one, though, and more importantly, is Home Tee Hero. And the really cool thing is that you've got over 42,000 golf courses that are built into this unit. And as I mentioned before, it's all self-contained. You don't need a PC or anything else to run this. But here comes the kind of that dirty word, subscriptions. So in order to do this, you will need a Garmin subscription, and that's gonna run you just about $10 per month. And here too is another one of those things, like I said, that I just don't think enough people are talking about the way that this price is not only hefty, but kind of continues to add up. Remember, the R50 is $5,000, right out of the box. And now you're looking at paying for another about $10 per month. And this may put it out of reach for a lot of people. In fact, recently I did a whole video on the channel where I built an entire simulator in my garage, complete with the hitting bay, hitting mats, a projector, a launch monitor, everything. And that came in for the same price of $5,000. So as cool as all this self-contained is, keep in mind, if you're going to want to build it out and you're gonna need to purchase a hitting bay, you're gonna need to purchase a projector, you're gonna need to purchase a subscription, of which we're gonna talk about that third-party software in a second, because that is also gonna come with a lot more hefty expenses. You could quickly see, for as cool and revolutionary as this is, it also comes with a pretty significant price tag. But that being said, it's really quick and easy to get through the 42,000 golf courses that are built in. You type in what you're looking for here and you'll see them pop up, and you're up and you're playing pretty darn quickly. There's some options to selecting different tees, etc. But you can be up and running and playing whether you're connected to a projector or just looking at this 10-inch pretty darn big screen. You're up and playing pretty quickly. And one more thing that I have to call out here, because we just don't see this with a lot of the budget launch monitors, is the fact that there's also putting. So you're able to play all the way from literally from the tee to the hole, and the experience is seamless. The graphics are cool. And like I said, the number of golf courses built into this is just robust. All right, so now let's talk about the last option in the main menu here. And this is the ability to connect to third-party software. And this is really exciting to see, but there is a big catch. And I don't think enough people are talking about this. And my concern is that you may purchase this unit and then end up with a even bigger expense on your hands that you weren't expecting. So let me tell you what I mean. When you click connect, you'll see that there are a number of different third-party softwares that you can connect to. I know a hugely popular one is GS Pro. So I think the hope that a lot of us had was that you could simply connect and run that software the same way we ran Home T Hero right here on the device. But unfortunately, that is just not the case. In fact, you still will need a PC, and in the case of GS Pro, a pretty robust, probably gaming PC to run it. Or there's other options here like Awesome Golf, where we've done full reviews on their incredible third-party softwares, but they do run off things like an iPad. Here, you will still need that. So what the R50 will do is it will connect to your account and connect to that other device, but the heavy lifting of processing and running the software will not be done on the R50. And the reason why I think this is just so important to talk about is the fact that without still purchasing, in order to run these, a PC or in some of the cases, a mobile device, you're going to largely be stuck within the Garmin system. Now, as we noted and we showed here, it's a pretty darn good system, especially with having all of that practice mode data that's built in at no additional fee, as well as that Home T Hero with over 42,000 courses. However, if you really think you're going to buy this and completely get away with not having to purchase a PC or some mobile device that you're used to seeing with launch monitors in order to run the software, well, the catch is that you're gonna have to stay within this Garmin system. If you wanna go outside of that with any of these third-party software, just know that you're still going to end up having to buy that PC if you don't already have one that you were trying to avoid. So it's just something to be aware of. Like I said, the other play modes that are built in are great. It's a self-contained unit. It doesn't require any of those things. However, you are staying within the Garmin system. So it is something that's really important to be mindful of when you're setting this up and you're buying it. All right. So with that said, let's set up a quick accuracy test. And I think it's important to be said that these accuracy tests are becoming more and more of a moot point. And I think the reason for that is now we as consumers, we're really lucky that there's been so much competition in the launch monitor space. Just this year alone, we've seen so many launch monitors released. We've tested so many of them. And I think at this point, if you release a launch monitor that's not accurate, it's gonna be dead in the water just because there are so many options at every price range. So as we test these, we find that all of them are pretty darn accurate. But of course, we also have to keep kind of hammering home, is this, and what we're trying to kind of address here is this unit truly as revolutionary as so many people are saying? It has definitely hit the scene with a whole lot of hype. And in a lot of ways, that buzzword is true. You know, if you think about revolutionary being this idea that it's bringing something new, something unseen before, and that's undeniable with this R50. The fact that it has a built-in 10-inch, huge, bright, very detailed and easy to use screen, that's really something that we have not seen before. You know, we've seen tiny little display screens on things like the Foresight GC3, but it is nowhere near the level we see with this. And I think that that's going to do is it's going to make it more accessible for people who, you know, like I said, if you know how to use an iPad, you can use this. You don't have to be tech savvy. Also, the fact that you can connect it directly with that HDMI cable. These are the two big kind of hits that really are something that is brand new to the market, and I think it benefits us because we're going to start to see others follow suit and maybe even other launch monitors hit the market that have similar characteristics. So getting back to that accuracy test, if you've watched here on the channel before, you guys know we love to use the Foresight GC3 to compare the accuracy because this is a really tried and true unit that's been out for quite some time. It is very accurate. So we usually use this kind of as our control in our test. However, I've been fiddling with it, and as much as I can get it so that they're both seeing the ball in the same place, there is definitely some sort of interference happening between the two because the GC3 is not spitting out any readings for me. Like I said, I'm able to indicate that the ball is there and I'm getting readings from the Garmin R50, but I'm not getting anything out of the Foresight GC3. So definitely some sort of camera or infrared interference. So in this case, let's just go to plan B. We're going to use the FlightScope Mevo Plus, which the good news is this also gives me club data as well. So we'll hit a couple with this. Like I said, this is really just to kind of prove what we already know, which is that this is accurate, because as I mentioned before, at this point, all the launch monitors that are out there are getting highly accurate. Garmin is known, this is not their first rodeo. Garmin is known, even with the R10 and some other units, to be very accurate, and I highly doubt they would release something that wasn't really well tested when it comes to accuracy. But for the point of curiosity, let's hit a couple and see what the numbers look like against the Mevo Plus. All right, so now let's dive into our accuracy test. And like I said, we've got the R50 set up as well as the FlightScope Mevo Plus. And one thing, I keep saying this, that what I do love about the R50 is it really couldn't be easier to use with that big touchscreen. So if this is like the first launch monitor you're buying or you're using, you really have nothing to fear. Like I said, if you can use an iPad, you can use this. And case in point, aligning it was so easy to do. You really just use the on-screen instructions and it walks you through it. It's really anyone could do it. The other thing that I like about the R50, like I mentioned earlier, is that you can use any golf ball. Now, some other units that are out there, we've talked about this extensively, do require certain golf balls or certain markings to make them accurate. Case in point, the FlightScope Mevo Plus. In order to get the most accuracy out of it, because it's a radar unit, we're going to be using the Titleist RCT ball. So we've got that ball set up. And like I said, the R50, it really doesn't care what ball we use. It's going to give us numbers. Got an 8-iron, got it marked the way it needs to be marked. We are ready to go. Let's hit a ball and let's see what we get. All right, so first impression is how quick was that? I mean, I hit it and we instantly saw our numbers pop up and our flight path. No lag whatsoever. So a couple things. Ball speed, 108 on the R50 to 110 on the Mevo. So you're within 2 miles an hour on ball speed. I know what everyone wants to know. Carry distance, let's go to carry distance. 148.3 to a carry distance on the Mevo of 152.3. So it's within 4 yards. The spin numbers are looking good. One that I'm very curious about, spin axis. Let's look at spin axis because this is something we've talked about extensively here. Spin axis, really what it does is it measures the curvature of the ball. Like if we simplify it down to that, it measures curvature. So if you're doing simulated golf and you're noticing that what you're seeing in the simulator is not matching the ball flight that you're used to, especially when it comes to curvature, drawing the ball, fading the ball, chances are what's off there is spin axis. But here, the numbers look really good. So we've got 5.4 degrees left on the Mevo Plus to 7.6 degrees left on the R50. So within 2. And then let's look really quick at some of those club numbers as well. So if I pull that up on my Mevo Plus, we've got a face to path, which is 3.6 degrees left. We did see that that ball went a little bit left. So face to path, 3.9 degrees left on the Mevo Plus, like literally within 0.3 degrees. Club path, you see here, we have a club path of 2.3 degrees right to 3.1 degrees right. Really, I mean, these numbers are spot on the same for both. I mean, they're amazingly accurate when it comes to that. And then I'll just cover one more thing real quick, is that spin. Like I said, spin being so important. So let's just go to back to our main view here. We're going to look at spin 5612 on the R50 to 5621 on the Mevo Plus. So really darn good. Let's hit one more. Like I said, this isn't meant in any way for me to be a real deep dive into accuracy, because I think where we like to do that is when accuracy is in question, especially with the budget units. But I full well expected this to be accurate. I just wanted to get a little bit of a visualization of, just to kind of confirm how accurate it is. You can only tell so much in one shot. Let's hit one more here and take a look at what numbers we get. All right, a little bit better contact there, a little straighter shot. Again, just love how quickly that came up. And this display, it's clean. All my data is here. I could just see, absolutely loving this for a practice session. Again, though, let's look at some of those numbers. Let's look at our carry distance, 154.2 on the R50 to, let's see here, 157.9. So again, within right about 3 yards there with 8-iron, but a lot of these other numbers are looking really darn good. Ball speed, let's see here, 111.9 to 114.1 on the Mevo Plus. Again, when I see numbers that are within just 1 or 2% difference, then, I'm happy with that. Spin axis, again, within 2 degrees there. Spin rate, 5,750 on the R50 to 5734 on the Mevo Plus. And just one more time to spot check it, let's just look at that club data that we got out of the Mevo Plus. First of all, we had the face to path was within 1.5 degrees. We have 3.5 degrees left on the R50 to 2.0 degrees left on the Mevo Plus. Really, as we're seeing all the other numbers just kind of falling right in line with it there. So let's just hit one more just because I'm having fun doing it. Another good ball there. And again, just seeing some really kind of similar numbers here. Carry distance there is within 4 yards. Ball speed, 110 to 112. It just kind of goes on and on. All the club, there's nothing that stands out to me as a number that's just wildly off when it comes to spin numbers I would expect, launch conditions I would expect, and definitely impressed with how quick and easy that is to use. All right, so obviously the numbers look good, and it's a really cool device, and we've addressed all the reasons why I think it's not too big of a stretch to call it revolutionary in a lot of ways. However, as I mentioned earlier, I think it's important to also point out certain things that are going to make this not perfect for everyone. The more I review and test launch monitors here, the more I realize that perfect is subjective to the individual, their budget, and their use case. There are some people who want a unit very similar to what we saw with the R10 that you can just throw in a bag, bring with you to the driving range, plop it down and get some numbers. And as cool as the carrying case is that comes with the R50, there's no denying that it's not something that you're going to be squeezing into your golf bag. So that's one important point. Another important point is the fact that the price tag is, in a way, hefty, but I almost say that with a bit of an asterisk because it depends on the lens which you look at it. If you are someone who was in the market for a mid-range launch monitor, if you were someone who was thinking about spending something like $6,000 to $7,000 on something like a Foresight GC3, well, this hits the market and all of a sudden you've got an option for something that is just as good, and I would say almost without hesitation, better than the Foresight GC3 because of all those additional bells and whistles that I showed you with the screen, etc. And now you're getting it at a bargain of almost $1,000 to $2,000 less. Well, absolutely. Like for you, that is something that is without a doubt something that is to be very excited over. However, on the other side, I don't see this being something that converts people who are already looking in the budget launch monitor option. There's just too many good options out there, whether it be, the tried and true that's been around, Garmin R10, or our personal favorite within that budget launch monitor realm, which is the Rapsodo MLM2 Pro, which has consistently shown us really great accuracy, integration with third-party apps, as well as now they've got a huge graphics boost, which we just did an entire video on, with built-in 30,000 courses. And keep in mind, if your entire budget to build out a home simulator is $5,000, well, you blow that whole thing on the R50 and you're already unable to do the build you want. So it really depends. Like I said, I'll link to that video. I did an entire build for under $5,000, but no doubt if you're looking for a lot of these bells and whistles that you get from the R50, that big, beautiful touchscreen display, the fact that it doesn't not require any type of PC or mobile device, iPad or otherwise, at least, like I said before, for the Garmin features, that's really attractive as well. So I think if anything, it's a really cool new offering into the launch monitor space. I think it's something that's going to move the entire industry forward and create even more great options for so many of us out here. So it's definitely a really cool unit. Just like I said, make sure you do all your research before you pull the trigger, especially at that price tag. Guys, thanks for watching, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.